Hi everyone, and welcome to Paper Pumpkin Week here on Creative Chelsey. Over the past couple days, I've shared with you some great card ideas that you can make with one set of supplies from this month's kit. Today, I'm sharing with you my fourth alternative set of cards using the February 2024 Paper Pumpkin Kit called Sweet Springtime. These projects from this kit are perfect for this time of year. It creates a total of 6 greeting cards, 3 in 2 different designs, as well as 3 gift boxes. If you would like to watch me unbox the kit and create these projects, you can click on the playlist in the top right corner. The 2 cards that I will be sharing with you today use both the bunny and the chick stamps from the kit. Today I'll show you how I colored each image with Stampin Blend Markers. Each month I take the contents from the Paper Pumpkin kits and make alternative projects. My cards are easy to follow and can be made by both experienced as well as new paper crafters. You may need just a couple other products to complete them. You can follow along with me using supplies you already have or purchase any of the products you see me use from my online store. And the link to all products is below in the description or on my blog, creativechelsey.com. Let's begin these cards by creating these stamped images, and then I will show you how to make each one individually. So we're going to need 2 bunnies and 2 chicks for our cards. So we're going to start by stamping those in our early Espresso ink on some basic white cardstock. Okay, so once you're done with that, you're going to have 2 of each image. So next you're going to grab your Stampin Blend Markers. I have Daffodil Delight, Petal Pink, and Crumb Cake. And I'm going to use all 3 on these 2 different images. Let's start with our light Daffodil Delight. I'm going to use this for the chick on the inside area. And I've just done that with kind of the bellies of the chicks. I'm going to use the dark Daffodil Delight next for the feathers on top, as well as the little feet and the beak, and then repeat that for the second one. Whenever you're using Stampin Blend Markers with the classic Stampin' ink colors from Stampin' Up, you want to make sure that you don't overblend because the ink can bleed a little bit. Now we're going to add a little bit of shadow to these chicks, and this is where we can kind of vary both of them. So we don't want them to look exactly the same. I'm going to take my light crumb cake and just add a little shadow where I think that they're going to have some. So a little bit maybe underneath the head, under the belly. You can grab your dark crumb cake and just maybe add a little more shadow. Just like that. So for the bunnies, I want my bunnies to be white. And so we're going to only use the crumb cake as kind of a shadow indicator. So I'm going to use my light crumb cake in just some areas where I know I want some shadows. Just maybe around the base of the head, the back, you know, wherever they've added some lines, you can add a little color. I'm going to add a lot more down here under where I know that that's going to be in shadow. And then I do want to add some color in the tail. So maybe something like this. I'm going to repeat that on this second bunny over here. I did outline the inside of the ears with the little crumb cake as well. If you have any areas where you want it to be a lot darker, go ahead and grab your dark crumb cake. And I know that we've got a couple areas here just to make it really pop. That should be a little darker. And then the petal pink is for the inside of the ears and the nose. I'm going to start with my light petal pink and then use my dark petal pink just for the very base on the inside of those ears and on the nose. just like that. Super cute little images that we can use on our cards. And the next thing we're going to do with them is we're just going to fussy cut them out. I'm going to give them a little bit of a bubble around that edge, especially these rabbits since they have the whiskers, and I don't want to get those too delicate if I was to cut too close to that line. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the camera while I finish cutting these out, and then I'll be back and we can work on those two cards that use these images. Okay, so once we've finished fussy cutting those images out, we're going to go ahead and bring in the products that we need to make our first card. The first card I'm going to do is this wreath card. Some of the products you're going to need, I've got a card base and I'm using Petal Pink Cardstock for that. And then we have our pink checkered, and this is the back side. So the back of the card base that had the bunnies on it. So that, I used that for my first alternative, and this was that leftover piece. You could also use an envelope if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and trim this down to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. That's going to give me a nice little border of petal pink all the way around. And I'll just put that off to the side. We'll do that in a minute. Then you're also going to need the Wreath Die Cut. And this is the flap from that Petal Pink envelope. We're going to use kind of this light crumb cake color here. And so I'm going to just trim off one of the sides. I just need to stamp Happy Easter on it, which I think I can get from just like a 1/2 inch, I think is all I need. I don't know if that's long enough. We'll see. We might come back and cut off a little more. Let's go ahead and stamp that. I got my Happy Easter, and we're going to do that in early espresso. It does barely fit, so I think I might cut just another piece because this piece will be a little longer. So it's about, we need 1/2 inch by 2 inches is what we're looking for. Okay, I think that will be better. So let's go ahead and stamp that. And then we're going to just trim the sides at a slight angle. I'm going to kind of mimic the angle of this curve here. So it might be a little different than my original, but that's okay. So we just have Happy Easter. And if you wanted to go a little bit bigger, you can. That 2 inches was quite tight. So maybe find a piece that's a 1/2 inch by maybe 2 1/2 inches. All right, so let's go ahead and start putting this card together. I'm going to fold along that score line so that I have my card. And then I'm going to add my pattern to the center with some adhesive. Just make sure there's an even border all the way around. I'm going to take the wreath and we're going to pop this up with dimensionals. You can take the dimensionals from the kit and use those. There's some nice large areas. You could also cut these in half if you want to kind of save those dimensionals a little bit and use those as well. This is just going to go right in the center of our card base. I'm going to add it a little higher than the midpoint, and I've got the daffodils kind of in the corner. So something like that. Then I'm going to take one of my cute little bunnies and add dimensionals to the back of that. Keep them kind of in the center since there will be a little bit of overlap on the wreath. It's going to go here on the left side of the wreath. And then I'm going to take my Happy Easter and add dimensionals here as well. I'm going to place them near the ends so that they're actually sitting on the bunny and the wreath and not necessarily on my card base, because I want this to be popped up on top of these already popped up areas. So I'm going to bring it down kind of over these purple flowers and over the bunny's tail. So it's going to look something like that. Do you see how it has all those beautiful layers? If I wanted to, if I didn't add a dimensional underneath there, I could pop another one there. Let's just do that really quick. I'll just use an end piece. I'm going to do that by taking off the paper so it's sticking on both sides and then just sliding it under where I know I want that. And that just gives extra support underneath that greeting. And the last thing we need for this card is some of our cute embellishments. Just going to add a couple to the greeting here near the bottom right area of the greeting. Maybe a small one next to that. And then let's do another big one up here by our bunny. And that card is all done. Let's go ahead and jump over to card number 2. So for card number 2, we're going to need a card base, and I'm using Granny Apple Green. It's the same color as the background of that pattern. I also have some Lemon Lolly, and this size is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. You can find all the measurements below in the description or on my blog. And then I also have a darker piece of yellow. This is Daffodil Delight. It is a 1/4 inch strip that is 5 1/2 inches long. So then I'm going to take the leftover piece I have from my box template. I used this on some previous alternative cards, and you can check those out clicking on that link up here in the top right corner. I'm going to take that straight edge and line it up at the 5 1/2 inch mark, and then go ahead and trim off. And then rotate, and you're going to remove those 2 colors or patterns again from each other. And if you do have any of a pattern still showing, just go ahead and trim that again. I'm going to do the same technique that I did before to hide my score lines from the box template. And that is to use that same cross-hatching embossing folder. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll be right back. All right, so now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and start putting this card together. So fold along your score line to create your card base. So go ahead and add that piece with some adhesive to the right side of your card base. And then you're going to add your skinny strip to cover up that seam. I'm going to just do that with a little liquid glue right along this edge here. And then you can use your grid paper to make sure that it lines up, or you can just eyeball it. And I'm going to place it over the seam, not butting up to the seam. So it's going to look something like this. Then on your Lemon Lolly, you're going to take a rounded corner punch. This one I have is a retired punch from Stampin' Up. If you don't have a rounded corner punch, you can just keep it square, or you can try using a circle punch. And I show how to do that in the first alternative card that I shared this week. Let's go ahead and stamp our greeting. We're going to do Springtime Greetings in Early Espresso near the top of our Lemon Lolly piece. It's going to look something like this. Then I'm going to take about 15 inches of the crumb cake twine that did come in the kit, and wrap that so that I can tie a bow right underneath the greeting on the left side. So it's going to look something like this. And then I'm going to add my bunny and my chicks. So let's grab our dimensionals. So I've placed dimensionals on the back. I'm just going to add these underneath the greeting. I placed the bunny here on the right side, and then the chicks, I've got one down a little lower and then one up behind on the left, just like that. Super cute. Let's go ahead and add this to our card with dimensionals as well. And you're going to place this on the left side, kind of in that open space, just a little higher than center. Maybe it's too big. Let's try tying it again. There. I think I like a little smaller bow on that. So I'm going to trim off the extra tails. There we go. So now you can see the greeting and the images. I like that smaller bow a lot better. The last thing we're going to add to this card are some of our little leftover flowers. So you're going to want to try to find as many full flowers as you can. And if you don't have enough, I'm trying to find just 3. So I have 2. Then you can use some that are along the edge and try to find some that are bigger. So I kind of like this one here. And then you're just going to go ahead and fussy cut them out. If you do find some around the edge, so they're not a full flower, you can tuck these underneath the other images. So for example, let me get this one with some glue dots. So this little guy can get tucked underneath the ear of the bunny. Just kind of as it hides, you're not going to notice that it's not a full flower. I do want it to come out just a little bit more so I can see some of that yellow there. I mean, if you were to really look at it, you would notice, but I don't think it's that big a deal. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Let's go ahead and stick it here near our chick. And then our last one is a little smaller. And we can add this between the 2 chicks to just help kind of define the space there. Kind of right there on the little belly. There we go. Our card is all done. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create these 2 fun cards today using some of the stamps that come in the Paper Pumpkin kit. If you're interested in seeing written instructions or close-up images on how I created these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsey.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.